in listen-only mode.
Good morning everyone and welcome to our ISMM webinar. Today's format will be 20 minutes slide presentation followed by 10 minutes for question and answers. Unfortunately, due to his busy schedule, Lee Chadwick is not available to join us today, but in his place we have Victoria Dyke. She is an award-winning, data-driven, business-to-business marketer, highly experienced in driving and developing the marketing strategy for expanding organisations within the lead technology industry. Boasting increased lead generation results for up to 740%, Victoria is currently heading up the marketing for the Communicator Group, a software provider focused on generating and nurturing leads. I've placed all attendees on mute to avoid us speaking all at the same time, so if you have any questions, please use the chat function and send them across to me, so I can ask Victoria on your behalf after her presentation. It's with great pleasure I'm now introducing you to our host, Victoria Dyke.
Thank you very much. Welcome everybody and thanks for logging on this morning. We're going to be running through the real data behind lots of sales and marketing performance that we've seen so far in 2016 based on also some research last year. It's a really interesting time at the moment because we've always seen, I think for the past sort of 2 years or so, that sales and marketing are joining more and more in their activity, and that's becoming even more the case, so that sales are going after really the right and well qualified opportunities. So what we're going to run through today is how you can get more of those, and some hints and tips that you can probably go and implement straight away. And if you've got any questions, then please do ask them at the end and I'll cover off anything we haven't covered. Just to give you a quick introduction to Communicator, we are a lead generation software. We focus on lead generation, lead qualification and nurturing, and then full-on automation. So we really count ourselves as a triple threat software. We're really focusing on efficient performance marketing. So we link into existing databases, including CRM systems, and we look at lead generation results that our clients will really be pleased to shout from the rooftops about. We do offer a free trial of our lead gen software. I'll cover a bit more of that at the end, and this slide just gives you a quick intro of some of the features that you might see in that. Just a quick recap of some of our customers. You'll recognise a couple of names on there that we're working with. This is a mixture of services and technology, so as well as just the technology, we do offer full lead generation services and consultancy alongside the products. And here are some of the CRM solutions that we are currently integrating to. We've got best-in-class integration with Dynamics, and a lot of others we are working on getting to that level as well. And that's a really, really important part of today's presentation as well. You will be able to look at the slides at your leisure later on. We will be sending out a link where you can access the slides at any time, and within that we'll have all of the details that you need about free trial if you're interested as well. So the format of today, we're going to look at the 3 steps to generating you more leads. We'll be looking at how you can identify who your leads are and the right kind of opportunities, how you can then nurture and qualify those better for sales, and then understanding what channels these are coming from, and so that you can invest more of your marketing budget into the right areas and then pulling them through to sales. So if you think of your traditional marketing at the moment, you're going to have lots and lots of different channels driving traffic to your website, and that's the key thing with any marketing that you're doing, is everything's going to be pointing towards your website. Some of the most common channels at the moment, you've got paid search, and so the adverts on Google. You've also got now advertising within social media, especially LinkedIn. That's a really, really strong advertising mechanism at the moment. In B2B marketing and sales in particular, LinkedIn is becoming a really powerful player. Email marketing is still the best performing lead generation marketing tool at the moment. Everybody owns an inbox. It's just being clever about the way that you can stand out so that we're avoiding being seen as pointless marketing messages. There's so many tools available now to make them really specific and relevant, that there's no need to be just outbound emailing anymore. And your content marketing was a real buzz 18 months ago or so. It's still really important, but it's more about how you can use those effectively within your campaigns. So if you've got lots of good content, that's great. It's about how you can then start using those within your marketing campaigns to get the most out of them. All of these channels are costing you money and they're all eating into your marketing budget. So the returns on those are really important, and that's why we're looking in today's slide specifically at your website and how you can open up more of the opportunities on your website. So we've been working with the ISMN for about 10 months now. We've done a bit of research with them. We've been working within the membership base and with the people who run the ISMN to kind of really find out with thought leaders, sales and marketing directors, managers, what's really going on in the world of technology at the moment and the world of lead generation. So a couple of the headlines that we found here was that when you're driving people to your website, quite often you're getting about 50% of them not interested in what you're offering. Now that might be because they're simply just bouncing back off the website. You're targeting in advertising might be driving the wrong people there, so as they land on your site they might then disappear, or they might not find exactly what they're looking for immediately. We also found that about 85% weren't ready to buy when they were first contacted by sales. So people were contacting their opportunities a little bit too early on within the marketing and sales cycle. But probably the most shocking one that I think we found out was that 71% of website leads had never been contacted by sales, and that's a huge opportunity that we could be missing out on there. So we started to look at what we could do to increase the opportunities for people to find that 71% of leads on the website, how we can increase that even further, and how we can make sure that they're feeding through to sales and that sales want to follow up with those as well. So I'm sure that most of you have a form fill on your website at some point, whether that's just to contact us, whether it's a demonstration, whether it's to get access to your pricing. They are the best kind of leads that you can get through from your website. People will be filling in their details to download a piece of information for you or to ask you to get in contact with them. They're what we'd class as inbound opportunities, although they're not the only opportunities that you can get from your website, and they are important, and we will spend a little bit of time going through what you can do to get more of those coming through for your sales team. They're the highest converting into opportunities and the highest converting through to sales as well, so you'll find your returns are going to be really high here. So there's an average form fill rate that we found across all industries. It's probably a lot lower than you would expect at the moment. It's currently only sitting at 2%. So people are less inclined to fill in a form on your website. We just are in that era now where people don't like giving away their details. Lots of things are available online for free now. Filling in forms is not something that we'd naturally just go ahead and do. So we thought we'd do a bit of research into what you can do to improve that 2% rate where people land on your page and then fill in a form. If you think about that in a campaign world and think of how large your database is, say you are sending an email campaign to about 10,000 people at the moment, the average click rate on an email would be sitting at around 0.5%, which again is really, really low. So you're looking there at about getting 50 clicks from that 10,000 strong database. If you then apply a 2% form fill rate, that means you'll get one lead from that 10,000 database, which isn't very strong. So when we started off our research, we were presuming we'd get about those results. This was the piece of content we were offering out in a LinkedIn sponsored update campaign. So we were paying for people to click onto a post that was specifically about the state of B2B marketing automation. We wrote the content specifically to different audiences and we put a form behind it, so we had to capture their details before they could download the assets. And because it was a piece of content, actually we did a bit better than 2%. We were getting 4% of people filling in that form. But again, if you think of those rates you're still only looking at a couple of leads coming through from 10,000 people there. So we thought what we could do to increase that, and what we really found out was people just don't like filling in lots and lots of details about themselves. Some people ask for addresses, and they ask for why they want to download the piece of content, etc. You're just putting people off then downloading and giving you their details. So we lessened the amount of fields required to get the content on our website, and we actually then found that that increased our form fill ratio to 30%. So immediately there, if you're taking that original example, from 10,000 people and just 50 clicks, you've immediately increased your leads to 15 leads versus the one that you were originally getting. So one of the key learning points here is don't ask people for a lot of information, ask them for the absolute minimum that you can do. What you can do with all of the technology around at the moment is ask for a smaller field as just the email address. If you're using some kind of website tracking technology, that will be then finding out from the domain that they use the rest of the company information and probably even additional contacts within there as well. So as long as you've got a bit of tracking software behind there, you can ask for minimal details and probably increase the amount of form fills you'll be getting and therefore inbound leads for your sales team. We then thought we'd try something different and look at the design. So we had a look at our landing page. We wanted to make it a bit more fun. We found that you've got to make sure that you're placing your form fill above the fold of your website, so before the scroll happens, and changed some of the colours, made it a bit brighter. We actually found that that did increase, but only by another 1%. So by doing that, we've increased our leads to about 16 leads you'd be getting from that 10,000 strong database. So a really good increase on inbound leads. The key thing here is that's great, and you're getting people to give you their details, and that's really important moving forwards in 2016 because there's lots and lots of data rules and regulations coming into place. So the current B2B European laws are that you can outbound email to a set of data that you've purchased, but you must include an opt-out in all of those emailing. That is looking set to change in the future, it might move further towards the B2C ruling where you can only email opt-in data, which you'd have to get them to fill in a form on your website to do that. It is looking like it might move that way. So right now is your opportunity to gather that opt-in data so that you're set to continue marketing after the regulations might change. The type of emailing you can then do after somebody would fill in a form of yours is to start warming them up and nurturing them for sales. It's not to say that somebody's downloaded a white paper of yours, they're ready for a phone call. Going back to that, 85% of people might not be ready to be contacted by sales when you initially make a phone call. So it's best to send them through a bit more of a nurture campaign, perhaps some more relevant information, followed by a product that suits for the topic that you're talking about, followed by a more sales email saying that you're going to get in contact. You'll find that that will warm someone up enough and it will filter out the people who aren't ready to be contacted by sales. So again, your conversion ratio will increase. We were also talking about you can't just rely on the form fills. There's 71% of leads that land on your website that aren't actually contacted at all. And if you think of just the 2% average that will fill in a form, you're potentially missing out on 98% of all of your other website visitors. So there's lots of tracking software available. We do have some unique differences within us. There's lots of IP addresses so you can identify the companies on your website. So all of those anonymous visitors you're then being able to identify, which gives you everybody that doesn't fill in a form on your website, and instead you're able to contact those who are moving around in a sales and purchase intent type of activity. And that's all through using IP lookup. we would say that we could identify about 50% of most people's website visitors on your landing on your website. So you're looking at a good increase of opportunities that you can also contact. But as with the form fill, when somebody just fills in a form, they're not ready for an immediate contact. It's the same with your website visitors. It's important to grade them using what we call lead scoring, so that you can see people who are just looking around for a bit of awareness, all the way through to people who have purchase intent and that you really should be proactively contacting. If you look at your website in these kind of layers, then your awareness levels will be the likes of your blogs and your news. Your research will be more like your heavier pieces of content. Your interest will be perhaps your product pages, and your purchase intent will be your contacts and demos, pricing, those kind of pages. And you can assign different scores to each of those pages and band them. So as somebody moves around your website, you can actually grade them and pass them over to sales. So you say perhaps sales would only contact the ones with purchase intent. So you're looking to drive people in and intrigue them, introduce them to your products, nurture them through a bit more, and then follow them up with a phone call. We'll look at that nurture part in a couple of minutes. But what we did find with doing some research was that the really, really hot leads on your website, if you do call them within an hour of them being on your website, then you're likely to increase your conversion rates by 90%. And we even went as far as finding out that your sales cycles can be lessened by up to 2 months. So that's really, really key when you're looking at the types of returns you can get from your website. I realise I covered that quite quickly, so if you are interested in more to do with lead scoring, then please do head on over to our website. There's a whole guide on best practice of lead scoring and how you can implement that on your website today. And these slides will be sent out to you, so you can just click on that link there. So once you've identified the visitors on your website, you can start looking at how to approach them and the best ways to really qualify your leads and then follow them up so that you're not wasting time contacting leads that just aren't a good fit for your website. So the initial thing you need to do is qualify your leads using what we call killer values. You're looking at your original personas, your original targeting, and how your marketing is attracting those to then pass them through to sales. So targeting is really, really important for marketing aspects, but also for sales qualification as well. Once you have a conversation with somebody, because you will have been tracking what they've looked at on your website, you'll actually be able to materially change the outcome of your conversation, because you'll be having a relevant conversation on what you know they are interested in through the pages that they've looked at on your website. So if we're looking at your data, here are some of the types of killer values you might have and you might be looking at. You might look at turnover, company size, industry, where they're based, their job title. So for example, you might speak very differently to somebody in a technical role compared to somebody in a marketing role, and what their real functions are in their job and what they're trying to achieve, what problems they're trying to solve in their job. And these are what we call your killer values, so it's always worth defining what they are within your data set. Here's an example. You can also have multiple versions of these killer values and personas, because you might be targeting slightly different people for slightly different products. So for example, one of ours is we're looking at businesses with a turnover of more than 3 million, a sales team of more than 3 people, particularly in the B2B technology industry. Their goals, problems they're solving is trying to generate and nurture more leads. They're using an email system, average order value of £5,000, and a CRM system with the likes of Microsoft Dynamics. So immediately I have a much stronger profile that I can hand over to sales, that my marketing is targeting, and sales are able to run through that list of qualifications before they make a phone call to. To make it even easier, you are able to do this kind of thing linked into your CRM system. So for example, you can run filters or advanced searches, so you can really look at those specific killer values combined with scores that people are achieving on your website. If you think of that lead scoring, then you can actually see what score they will have built up on your website, and if they're hitting your right killer values. If you tick all of those boxes, then they're well worth a phone call. Couple of sales tips when you're qualifying leads. It's always worth calling back every 2 days within a 2-week period. Leave the messages and email as well. You'll get a 5 times better response rate. LinkedIn is a really key thing that everybody's using in businesses now, especially if you're working within sales and marketing targets yourself. Everybody's on LinkedIn and using it as a way to connect. Leave personal messages on LinkedIn if you are going to use it. Don't send a sales pitch straight away through. Try and actually use the connection to build a business relationship. It's also worth using other social media. Twitter's always good. People are always looking for engagements. Tweet the individual if you can. It's a bit of an ego thing, I think, sometimes, but it does work. Take it offline as well. Send them a letter or a box of goodies. We actually we sent a gator with a Kindle with a code that they'd have to come to us to get the code, have a meeting, and actually we had 100% response rate when we did something like that, something a bit more fun that will make you stand out. And keep trying until you get through. Don't give up. But that's a difficult thing to do, and so it's worth then looking at the automation and letting marketing do a lot of the legwork into warming people up to the point that they are really ready to be contacted and will engage with you. So here we're looking at being able to identify individuals. So as I said, lots of people can track companies on your website. With our software, you're actually able to look at individuals' movements. It's a combination of reverse IP tracking and cookie technology, but you are actually able to see, even just from an individual Outlook normal email, what an individual is then doing on your website, tracking their email address as they move around. You'd see their own personal individual score as well as their individual movements in the pages that they've been looking at. So if we have a look back at our lead scoring funnel here, then you can, and remember the awareness, research and interest stages might not be ready for a phone call yet, but the purchase intent people will be passed immediately over to sales. What you're aiming to do is push everybody through the funnel and get them to that purchase intent for sales. And that's the bit that marketing is really, really focusing on. So again, you can use your databases to do this. You can filter by your killer values, but also by your scoring. So you can look at everybody with a really low score, and you can put those into a nurture campaign. And B2B nurturing is really focused on educating and qualifying leads that aren't ready to buy yet. So what you have to do here is really send the right content at the right time. If you think of videos and blogs, for example, they're a lot less lightweight than case studies and product features. So you've probably got a lot of content on your website at the moment. This is talking about how are you using that to your best advantage at the moment. Here's a really quick template that you could go and implement straight away. If you're looking at intriguing people, blogs, videos, hints and tips are really, really lightweight. That's your regular content that you should be producing on a weekly or at least fortnightly basis. Then you've got your discover content. That's where we're starting to get into white papers, guides, resources, things that take a bit longer, but when people are really starting to look into the industry that you're in or are starting to be a bit more interested, they will download and read something like that. Once they're then interested in the topic and you want them to start considering you as a company, you can start sending them product features, case studies about your results, etc. And when they then move into the decide stage, your purchase intent stage, this is where you can start working with sales and helping them and sending them more personal type emails that will talk about your pricing, demos, requests, phone call, organising a meeting and so on. And there's lots of different email tips to use within this as well, which I won't be able to cover off all of them today, but that we run seminars as well where we really go into the types of emails to use at different points within your campaigns. So nurture workflows using lead scoring is really what automation is all about. Depending on the score that they've built up on your website, the killer values that they have and the personas that they're fitting in, you can send them different levels of content and different types and different topics of content depending on exactly where they are. And this can all work automatically for you, so it's super efficient. The lead generation design of your emails, it might be surprising, but in fact your design-led emails are more and more going out the window these days. We are much more likely to react to a typical Outlook style email. So this is a marketing message that's automatically triggered based on somebody's purchase intent score on our website. If you can still use links and trackable links within them, but as Google set the design standard and we all like blue links that are underlined, we know that that's clickable, we know that that will take us somewhere. It's best to use plain text, a blue link, and make it look like it is from a real person that you are likely to open their email within your inbox. So doing all of those things will really, really help to increase your lead generation. And just to give you a quick sort of idea of how that might be, the average click-through rate, I mentioned it earlier, being 0.5% is always under 1%. That's the average. People are doing better than that, which is absolutely fantastic. But across all industries, you're looking at below 1% as an average click-through rate. If you structure your content correctly and put them into the right kind of nurture campaigns, we can tell you that you will be getting a 15+ click-through rate. So if you go back to our original example of our inbound leads, and we're saying 2% of people landing on the website are likely to fill in a form. So if we can increase that for you by lessening the fields, then we can get that up to about 31% for you. And that will give you, from a 10,000 strong contact database, roughly 16 leads. If you add to that your 15% click-through rate versus the 0.5 that you were originally getting, that will give you 1,500 clicks on your original email campaign, and with a 31% form fill rate, that will give you 465 leads. So you're going there all the way from 1 lead to 465 leads just by implementing a couple of these little things today. If you want to know a bit more about some of the workflows, then please again jump onto our website, and there's an entire guide there of the automation workflows you should be using that will really help generate you leads. So just to finish off, it's great to know who's visiting your website, and it's great to know what they're doing, and it's great to pass them over to sales. But from a marketing point of view, it's really important to know where they're coming from so that you're spending your marketing budget in the right areas. And also, it is another way that you can open up more and more leads for sales. So every inbound web link should have what we call a UTM value attached to them. What that means is that you can track what channels, what channel they're coming from, what specific campaign they're coming from, and any terms that they're specifically using. Now, we have a free tool available that you can use in line with our tracking software. So anything from your paid search adverts to your social media posts, you can create a trackable link, and then you will be able to identify the companies coming from previously unidentifiable channels. So anybody clicking onto your website from a paid search advert, you would be able to identify that company and bring up a list of everybody from pay-per-click. And that is something that usually you are heavily relying on them to fill in a form to be able to do such a thing. And in fact, you can start to track, you can get sales to start following up on all of your paid for traffic to your website to see if you can get a higher return. Again, I've got a quick guide for you. This will come out in the slides later on. This is what your follow-up paid for traffic looks like. If I were to drill into any of those different mediums, then I would get a list of companies from that specific medium that I can hand over to sales. So all in all, that is your complete marketing audit trail. We've looked at email, you've got email, search, social, driving traffic to your website. You're being able to track that through your UTM values, your reverse IP lookup and your cookie tracking. So you're able to see who's on your website, what they're looking at and exactly where they have come from. So these slides are all available on our website as of now. Please note this down. If you head on over to gatorleads.co.uk/ISMM-webinar, and you'll be able to download that slide deck and pick up any of those hints and tips that you might like. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I've given you some useful tips, and I'll be here to just answer any questions. Everybody that has attended today, we're actually offering an extended trial, a 30-day all-access free trial. You get full access to our lead generation software. All you have to do is put up the tracking code that we'll send you by close of play tomorrow onto your website, and you'll get the software free for your use for 30 days. If you are the first person to put it up, we'll give you, and decide to go ahead with the software, we'll give you 3 months free to start off with. So thank you very much, and open up to questions.
Thank you, Victoria. We've had a few questions come in. Okay, so the first one is, how do the cookies work?
So the cookies are, if somebody clicks on an email that you send out, it will have a trackable link in it, which is your cookie tracking. So what that will then do is place what's called a cookie tracking onto that specific email address. So until that person then clears their cache on their website, that email address and person is trackable on that specific website.
Okay, right. Thank you. The next question we have is, how do you know who the company is?
So the company identification is what's called reverse IP lookups. So every company, because it's static, this is why you can't do it with just individuals, that's the cookie tracking. Companies have IP addresses, and every IP address, because it's linked to a company, is trackable. So if we have a list of IP addresses in our own private database, and we are continuously working on expanding that. So we can match that with the company that owns it, and the IP code is what we track visiting our website, and because that IP code belongs to the company, we're able to tell you which company that is.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is this legal?
Yeah, we get asked that quite a lot actually. I know it's very, very Big Brother-like, and it can be quite scary when we tell people we can tell you who is on your website. It's quite shocking sometimes. It's completely legal. It's completely within all data laws as well. There's lots of tracking software available, and it's in particular to do with marketing automation, so that you don't send people things that they're not interested in. Sending mass outbound email campaigns is a thing of the past now. The biggest advantage of this type of technology is not to hound people who are visiting your website, but to in fact provide them with more relevant content, I'd say.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, how do you contact the lead?
So you get full company information of the company that's on your website. You'll get everything in their website address, their address, phone number. We'll actually even provide contact details of people who work within that organisation, and you can automatically pop them into nurture campaigns. So with all of that information, you're able to go onto their website, or you've got their contact details immediately. You can purchase email addresses off us if you wish to do so, but we also do provide integration through to LinkedIn, so there's lots of search available straight to LinkedIn of the company as well.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is, how are you different to Lead Forensics?
So yeah, Lead Forensics is within the same industry. We focus quite a lot more on the individual tracking. I don't think that's something that Lead Forensics are currently doing. We do that because we're focusing more on the nurturing process rather than just showing you who's on your website. We actually have lots of different options of what you can do with your opportunities that land on there too. So putting them into warm-up pots before sales contacts them, I'd say, is what our real focus on, and that's what makes us different within the marketplace. We're not saying to contact everybody that lands on your site. We're saying to warm up the ones that aren't ready yet.
Okay, thank you for that. Our final question, it looks like, is are there any stats or forms regarding how many people use false information or dummy accounts?
You can actually manage that quite carefully on your website. I don't have any stats of what that would be to hand of people that do that, but we, for example, the forms on our website require a business email address to be able to access the information. So you can set boundaries and perimeters to the addresses that people are filling in on your website capture forms.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I have one more question now. We currently use Gator Leads tracking, which is great. However, you mentioned to call them within the first hour of them visiting the website. Aren't people more likely to have a negative response if you call them straight away, as they will know you have been or are currently monitoring their internet traffic?
It's a tricky one because you have to approach these things differently depending on the type of company you are. So, for example, we have salespeople who will actually phone up and say, I can see that you've been on my website. And that doesn't, I wouldn't say that's probably the best approach to use. If you, in fact, call up and just generally introduce yourselves and talk about the things that they have been looking at without saying that, I think you're much more likely to get a better response. It's a right time, right conversation, bit of a coincidence kind of thing versus the I can see what you're doing, which might potentially scare somebody off. Because they are, the reason we say to contact them within the hour is because there's so much going on within a work day now, so many different things that they might be onto something else if you leave it any longer than that, whereas within the hour it'll still be fresh in their mind, they'll still know what they've looked at and know your company name.
Great, thank you for that. That comes to an end of our questions. Guys, please make sure to check our website for upcoming events. Thank you everyone for attending, and thank you to our host Victoria. Hope to see you all at our next webinar.